This is a video about emotional restructuring and restructuring your relationship to the emotions that you feel and how to access feeling how you'd like to feel. So the first thing that I'll say about this is that we don't have any power to change how we feel our feelings and how we feel what's happening within us unless we have a relationship with our own consciousness. So the understanding that we do have the ability to choose, if we can recognize that we have the ability to choose. It's like sometimes things happen and you just react to them without thinking. But if you recognize, oh, something is happening, how do I want to respond to this? You go from reacting to responding. And this is just a relationship with your own consciousness that can absolutely and totally be cultivated. I hear a lot of people say, I can't meditate. And truthfully, I used to be one of those people. And what is better serving is, instead of the story, I can't meditate, the story of, I haven't found a way to meditate that feels accessible to me right now. Meditation is often not what people think it is. It's recognizing where your awareness is. That's it. It's just recognizing, here is where my attention is. It's the ability to understand that you have a focal point of attention and being able to either observe it or even direct it. Both of those are meditation. And so somatic experiencing, the therapy that I do, it's like a meditation. It's like a guided meditation where we're just observing what's happening in the body and we're kind of moving the awareness around. You can totally do this by yourself. Moving is a meditation. If you're paying attention to your dance, if you're trying to channel a certain emotion while you're dancing, that's meditation. If you're really focused on the burn of your legs as you work out or you cycle, that is also a meditation. You have a focus point of awareness. We're kind of meditating all the time because our awareness is always somewhere. So first of all, in emotional restructuring, having the ability to recognize that you have a consciousness and that you have the ability to choose. Because if you are at the whim of your emotions all the time, then you're never going to recognize your own power to do anything about how you're feeling. So coming into contact with that power is amazing. I'd love to talk more about that. If you want to know anything, ask me a question. The next thing is frameworks, and I work a lot with frameworks. So I do psychedelic facilitation. I also am launching a course in January about helping people go through the first phases of business by working on not only the strategy, but the emotions that have to do with the first phases of business and all the contractions and confidence and self-esteem stuff that come up. And I work a lot with frameworks in both of these things. Frameworks are like the ideas around what you are feeling. So are you, I have notes over here, are we feeling this in pleasure or in pain? Because of the agreements that we have around this emotion. A great story about this is that I saw an ex at a party recently and I left as soon as he got there because I needed to run out for something. And I was like, man, pain. Things are kind of resolved with this person, but they're kind of not. And I was feeling a lot of pain. And so consciously I was like, okay, what am I actually feeling right now? And I recognized that I was feeling this, I was missing him. I was really missing the friendship and the relationship that we used to have, and really sad that we didn't have it anymore. And so when I could sense that that was what was going on, was I was missing him, I was like, what is my framework for this? What do I believe about missing somebody? And I realized that my body was experiencing this in the framework of missing him is terrible and missing him feels awful. And when I was able to see that framework, I was like, well, missing somebody doesn't have to be a painful experience. Missing somebody can be really sweet and kind and easy and juicy even. It can be like a lovely experience. And so when I looked at my framework and I was like, that doesn't have to be how it is. And I just kind of clicked the way that the emotions were running through my system into this new framework of like, this can be a sweet, lovely experience of love. And then the pain stopped. The emotion was still there, the energy was still there, but the suffering ceased to exist because I was working on the framework. So what do you believe about what you're feeling? Oh, I'm feeling unconfident in my business. Well, do you believe that you cannot succeed as long as that feeling is in your system? Well, that might be what's holding you back, not the feeling itself. We all feel unconfident sometimes, but what do you believe about that lack of confidence? Do you believe that you'll never make money if you don't fix this thing? Do you believe that if you don't attend to this relationship, then you'll never XYZ? It's what is the framework of your beliefs around the emotional experience that you're having? And then the last thing in emotional restructuring is like once you have the awareness of what you're feeling and you have this ability to assess the frameworks of what you're seeing and what you're experiencing, then the somatic experiencing facilitates kind of the rest of it. When we're going through an emotion, there's oftentimes things that anchor in the experience that we're having. And a lot of what I do is based on this idea that what we resist persists. So if we have resistance to a thing, it's going to keep playing itself out. And so we need to, in a way that's helpful with the nervous system, in the way that's trauma informed and isn't going to dysregulate somebody, we need to be able to access feelings that have been resisted and feel them and embody them. So not only feel them like inside, but feel them by expressing them too. So feeling them going in and feeling them going out, really being in the experience of what we're feeling. And what you'll find is that often there's layers to it. There's compounded layers. So maybe you're like, I know I have this thing I need to feel, and there's a lot of anger there. Okay, and so the first layer is anger. And maybe when you get to feeling that anger in a resourced and safe container, then you actually realize that what was underneath it was shame, or what was underneath it was sadness, or what was underneath it was disgust. You know, there's things underneath, especially anger is kind of like the first step to a lot of emotional restructuring, because it's guarding us from the thing, it's protecting us. I could do a whole video about what anger feels like and how it moves in the body and all the things, but we won't do that right now. So somatic experiencing is like a guided meditation, and it facilitates integrated catharsis. So catharsis was a movement in the 60s, and it got really big in all the gurus. You saw a lot of it in, you know, the California guru environment. And it was like people were going through these deep like purges of energy and emotional releases, but truthfully it didn't really stick. This idea of catharsis, it still hangs around in some types of therapies, but it didn't really stick in the way that it did in the 60s because there wasn't truly integration with it. There wasn't a reestablishing of the pulse of the nervous system where we could come down out of that fight or flight activated state and learn how to fully regulate into a down-regulated state, which is what ultimately cures trauma. Trauma is just a dysregulation of the nervous system's pulse. And so having these big releases is really important to unfreeze parts of ourself that may have been locked in a freeze response, but we really need to do the work to come down and learn how to run emotional energetics in our body that we actually want to. So just having these purges and these releases isn't enough. We actually need to look past those into what we do want to be feeling and lace those experiences into our body, lace the downregulation into our body, get our body used to the chemical experience of happiness, of stability, of confidence. You know, it's not enough to just feel all the blocks to your confidence and go into these big purges without actually doing the work to feel all of the positive emotions and get your body used to that chemical and electrical experience of the one that you want to have. So a lot of what I do with people is, yes, we're going to go through these purges. We're going to go through these catharsis, and we're going to assess the frameworks and your own consciousness and your access to your own power. And also really focusing on how you want to be feeling and who you want to be showing up as. So this is kind of the framework, the setup, the structure system that I have for emotional restructuring is getting clear on your own power and consciousness and ability to choose in any given moment. A lot of how I do that is gratitude practices. Gratitude is such a powerful chemical in our, like it releases powerful chemicals in our body. It really gives us access to the present moment. So being aware and conscious that we have choice, assessing the frameworks for which you're experiencing something and creating better beliefs and better frameworks around your experience, and then doing somatic experiencing to actually access those purges and access the emotions that we have had resistance to, so we can get the energy out of those stuck places and then wire it into where we would like it to be. If you want to know more about somatic experiencing, I have a YouTube channel that it's like the best description that I've ever seen for that therapy. And it's a 5-minute description of everything that we do in somatic experiencing. So if you want, I'll link that down below. And I hope this is helpful information to you. Thanks for watching.